The doctrine of caveat emptor. It's a Latin phrase. It means when buyer or purchaser buys some goods, he must examine it thoroughly on the basis of his own judgment. In case if buyer makes bad selection, he cannot blame anybody. Let's see this example. A bought a horse from B. A wanted to enter the horse in a race. Turns out the horse was not capable of running a race on account of being lame. But A did not inform B of his intentions. So B will not be responsible for the defects of the horse. The doctrine of caveat emptor will apply. Here A bought horse with the intention to make horse to run in the race, but he did not inform about his intention to B. So here it was A's responsibility to check horse before buying it. So the doctrine of caveat emptor applies here. Exceptions to the doctrine of caveat emptor. So here are some exception. The first exception is fitness of product for the buyer's purpose. When buyer expressly told seller regarding the usage of goods or for particular purpose for which he requires the goods, then it's seller's responsibility to supply the goods accordingly what buyer mentioned. Then the second exception is goods purchased under brand name. In the case of a contract of sale of specific goods under its brand name, there is an implied condition that product is fairly fit for any specific purpose. Let's say when we buy iPhone, we usually as a buyer don't examine much because iPhone has its own brand name and it's a very premium product. Then the third exception is goods sold by description. Now here it means when goods are purchased by the buyer without seeing the goods but on the basis of what seller described about goods. Let's say when we do online shopping, generally we buy product on the basis of description made by the seller. So in such case the doctrine of caveat emptor doesn't apply. Then the fourth one is goods of merchantable quality. When goods are purchased on the basis of description given by the seller who deals in goods of that description, then it is presumed that the good shall be merchantable quality. Here merchantable quality means marketable quality. Then the next exception is sale by sample. When purchases are in bulk, it is not possible for the buyer to examine each and every product. So in that case, buyers make decision on the basis of quality of the sample, which is shown by the seller. After buying, if buyer finds defective goods, the doctrine of caveat emptor will not apply because he did not get a chance to verify the bulk item. Then the next exception is sale by description and sample. When buyer bought goods on the basis of description and sample given by the seller regarding goods, but after buying of goods, buyer found that there is a difference in the quality of goods. In such case, the doctrine of caveat emptor will not apply. The seventh exception is usage of trade. Now let's understand this with the example. Let's say A bought a chocolate and he ate it. Later he got sick because he was allergic to nuts and those chocolate contained nuts which made A fall to sick. Seller didn't label the product with allergic contents. Here, because of seller's negligence, if this happens, the doctrine of caveat emptor doesn't apply. Then the last exception is fraud or misrepresentation by the seller. If the intention of the seller is to commit fraud, then in that case doctrine caveat emptor doesn't apply. Performance of contract of sale. Under contract of sale of goods, the performance of contract of sale means it explains about the duties of the seller and the duties of the buyer as per the terms of the contract. Here, seller duty is to deliver goods and the buyer's duty is to accept the goods and pay for it. Let's see some terms over here. Delivery of goods. Delivery of goods means transferring possession of goods from one person to another. Delivery of goods can be actual, symbolic and constructive. Actual means when goods are physically handed over by the seller to the buyer. Symbolic means when goods are in bulk, it is not possible for the seller to hand over the goods to the buyer. So in such case, the seller offers substitute articles to the buyer. Here substitute articles means, let's say, keys of the warehouse. Then the third is constructive. Here, instead of handing over goods physically or handing over substitute article, the seller transfers the documents related to title of the goods to the buyer. Let's see some rules regarding delivery of goods. The first one is mode of delivery. We already understood the modes of delivery. It can be actual, symbolic and constructive. Then the second one is delivery and payment concurrent condition. Here concurrent means performed at same time. Unless and until the buyer is ready for making payment, the seller is not required to deliver the goods. Unless and until the seller is ready for delivery, the buyer is not required to make payment. That means both have to do things at same time. Seller has to deliver goods and buyer has to make payment. Then the third one is effect on part delivery. When goods are in bulk, it is difficult to seller to deliver whole goods at one time. So he delivers it by part. As a buyer, when you accept the part delivery, it means you accepted it for whole. So here buyer cannot say I will not accept the remaining delivery. It's logical to understand. Then the fourth rule is buyer to apply for delivery. It is buyer duty to take delivery of the goods. In case if buyer mentioned any specific regarding delivery of goods, then buyer should apply for delivery. Place of delivery. A place of delivery depends upon what seller and buyer agreed on it. Let's say if buyer asks seller to deliver to his home, then seller has to deliver to his home. In case when nothing is agreed on the place of delivery in the contract, then the place of delivery should be the place of contract made. Remember this point. Here let's say the contract made at the seller's factory. Then the place of delivery is seller's factory. Then the next rules regarding delivery of goods is time of delivery. seller has to make delivery within reasonable time. However, if the time is specified in the contract, then within the specified time, the seller has to deliver. Or in case the time is not specified in the contract, then within the reasonable time, the seller has to make delivery. The last rule is regarding cost of delivery. All expenses which are incurred to deliver the goods should be taken care by the seller unless otherwise agreed, and all the expenses to obtain the goods should be taken care by the buyer. So these are the rules regarding delivery of goods. There are three stages in the performance of a contract of the sale of goods at by a seller. The first stage is transfer of property in the goods. Then the second stage is transfer of possession of the goods. And the third stage is passing of the risk. So these are the stages in the performance of contract of sale of goods. Let's see the significance of transfer of ownership. The moment when the property in goods transfers from seller to the buyer, the risk also follow the ownership. Means the risk transfers from seller to the buyer. Then the second significance is owners to take action against third party. When goods damages in the transit because of third party, only owner of the goods who can take action against third party. Then the third significance is insolvency of the seller or the buyer. In the event when the seller or buyer becomes insolvent, the question arises whether the goods should be handed over to the official receiver or not. It depends upon whether the property in goods transferred or not from seller to the buyer. Then the fourth significance is seller's right to the suit for price. Seller has right to suit for a price when transfer of property in goods passes from seller to the buyer. When ownership transfers from seller to the buyer, the seller has right to suit. In case if specified time was given by the seller to the buyer regarding payment, after transferring the ownership of the goods, the seller can suit after that specified time given by him. Rules relating to transfer of specific goods. Let's see when the ownership transfers from the seller to the buyer in case of specific goods. Here specific goods means goods which can be identified at the time of contract. So the first rule is passing of property at the time of contract. Here the ownership passes at the time of contract. Let's say B selected books in the bookshop and he paid price for that. But B arranges to take delivery of the books after one day. On same day the books destroyed in the fire. Here seller is not bounded because the ownership is already transferred from seller to the buyer. Then the second rule is regarding passing of property delayed beyond the date of contract. In case if there is a delay in the transfer of ownership even after the date of contract, the first rule, the goods not in deliverable state. In the condition when goods not in deliverable state. Here the ownership will transfers from seller to buyer only when seller has done something to put them in deliverable state. Let's say you ordered 20 pair of uniform. You selected cloth, material and all, but the ownership transfers only when seller stitches them. Then the second B kind of state is when the price of goods is to be ascertained by weighing. When goods are at deliverable state but still seller has to do some act like weighing, measuring, then the ownership transfers only after that act done by the seller. Section 23 states the two important rules regarding passing of ownership in respect of unascertained goods. The transfer of ownership of unascertained goods happens only when goods are ascertained and appropriated to the contract. Ascertained means when goods are identified in the contract. Appropriated means the goods are selected with the intention to perform the contract. So these two important things are very much needed here. The first one, the goods should be ascertained, then the goods should be appropriated. Let's take an example. In an agreement to sale of 20 cans of oil out of larger quantity, here goods are said to be ascertained when oil cans are filled and set apart. Okay, here when oil cans are set apart, filled and set apart, then we can say it as a ascertained goods. And appropriation means selecting 20 cans of oils with the intention to deliver of oil can to buyer. So this is the first rule. Then the second rule says ownership can be transferred by the person on behalf of other person to the buyer. Let's say the person who is an agent can transfer the ownership to the buyer. Rights of buyer. The first right is regarding delivery of the goods. As per the contract, the delivery should happen to the buyer. Then the next right is if the seller does not send as per the contract the right quantity of goods to the buyer can reject the goods. In case if seller fails to supply as per the contract, buyer can reject the goods. Then the third right says buyer can reject the goods if seller supplies him goods in installment where the agreement happened to supply one at a time. Then fourth right is all about insurance. The seller has to inform buyer if goods are sent through sea. So seller can take the insurance. Then the fifth right says here buyer has a right to examine the goods before accepting it. Then the sixth right says in case seller refuse to deliver goods to buyer, in that case buyer can sue the seller for damages even though payment has not done by the buyer, and damage must be the difference between the contract price and the market price. The next right is after making payment, if seller fails to deliver goods, buyer can sue seller to recover the amount which already paid by him. Then the eighth right is if seller fails to perform as per the contract regarding specific performance, buyer has right to sue the seller. Then the last one is the buyer has right to sue to seller in case of breach of implied warranty. Duties of the buyer. It is the duty of the buyer to accept the goods and pay for them in accordance with the terms of the contract. Here, the buyer has to accept the goods and make a payment. So, this is the first duty. Then the second duty says it is the duty of the buyer to apply for delivery. In case if buyer is very specific regarding price, place, time of delivery of goods, he should inform the seller regarding this. Then the third duty says, if buyer wants goods within reasonable time, then it is duty of buyer to demand delivery of goods within specified time. Then the next duty of the buyer is, if goods are delivered by seller to buyer in installment as per the agreement between buyer and seller, then it's a buyer duty to accept the goods in installment. Then the next duty is, while goods are in transit, there are chances of having risk. That is common. It is buyer's duty to accept those risks. The sixth duty is, if the buyer refuses to accept the goods, then a buyer has to inform about this to the seller. Then the seventh duty is, if the seller supplies as per the contract, it's a buyer duty to accept the goods. If buyer refuses to accept, then buyer will become liable for any loss to the seller. Then the eighth duty is, once the ownership transfers, it's a duty of the buyer to pay price to the seller. Then the last duty is, after making payment to seller, if buyer wrongfully refuses to accept the goods, then it is duty of the buyer to compensate the seller. Rights of unpaid seller against buyer. When buyer of the goods does not pay his dues to the seller becomes an unpaid seller, and now the seller has certain rights against the buyer. So the first right is suit for price. Seller can suit for the price which is unpaid by the buyer. Then the second right is, if buyer refuses to accept the goods, the seller can claim for the damages. Then the third right is, the seller has right to reject the contract. Then the fourth one is, the seller has right to receive the interest on unpaid money. Right of lien. Right of lien means keeping the goods in his own possession. Unpaid seller has right to keep goods in his own possession until seller recovers the price from the buyer. Under following cases, the seller has right to lien. The first one, seller sells the goods without any stipulation for credit. Here, when seller sold the goods without any condition attached to the credit, then the seller has a right to lien. Then the second case is, when goods are sold on credit but the credit term has expired, where the credit term, when they say the like 3 months credit term, after 3 months the seller can keep the goods with himself. Then the next one is, the buyer become insolvent. So under that case also, the seller can keep the goods under his possession.